Hello, everyone. I'm just checking whether you can hear me. Can anyone hear me? Please confirm. I just need you to confirm, somebody please, in the chat. Oh, awesome. Thank you for being here with me. I'm just going to take a few seconds just to center myself. So how I got here is that I opened my video recorder, my audio recorder today, and spoke to my spirit guides about a collective reading. And what they said to me was, confluence. I've never heard this word before. Actually, this was while I was washing my hands. And so I looked up the meaning of confluence. And confluence means it's the coming together of that point where two rivers meet. I'm going to use my phone. And, you know, these two rivers meeting, what it gives me the idea of is two thoughts of wisdom meeting at a point. And then later on, they gave me the word divergence, which is a challenge for me. So we're going to work through this together, because I've had a lot of tension inside of me working through my beliefs about life. My beliefs, I have to tackle them as I expand and allow for my expansion. And so with yesterday's experience of encountering what I later realized was God consciousness, and I feel like I've touched on it before, but yesterday was incredibly, incredibly emotional and very overwhelming. And it was only later when I listened in on the recording that I realized all of the God consciousness information is what was flowing into me. And so this incredible love, this incredible peace, and this connectedness, and also information around what matters, about what matters. And so this idea is becoming increasingly important to me as I share myself with you, in terms of, and I've picked up on some stuff, I'll get to that, but in terms of what point are we at? What point are we at? Because we here on Pyramid Energy, since March last year, there's been a lot of healing that's taken place. And I'm aware that there are a lot of people that have been here from the beginning. And then there are people that have been with me through the Christ consciousness sort of phase, and then the poetry phase. And there's been so many changes, and I never know what to expect. But right now, I can tell you that I am at a major crossroads that I've been told I can only tackle here with you. And whether this is a channeling or whether it's a workshop is still unclear to me. So I'm going to share what's on my heart, and please feel free to add your messages there so that I can come back to them as I settle into what I want to say. So what's becoming important to me is, from the perspective of my journey and what I feel like I have touched. And again, I make no assumptions around whether I'm here to stay. It was very much an entry and a feeling of belonging in that space. But when I exited it. So I'm back to, human life. However, these things, what came through yesterday, these things need to be integrated. What needs to be integrated? The wisdom that we pick up along the way, the lessons that we pick up along the way, the truths that we keep encountering, that keep coming to us. Many of us here are channels. Many of us here are deeply intuitive. I've got to know you all, and the level of information that I'm sharing with you, if it resonates, then we are the same. And that's something else I read about Confluence, is it's sort of these two rivers of equal widths. And so I'm realizing more and more, especially from the comments as well, is I'm not a teacher here. I'm not a teacher in the sense of wisdom. There are a lot of things that I come across that you're all familiar with. I walk in and I'm like, I just open a box and I look in the box, and then it's like, pew, all this stuff comes out, and then you're all there to confirm what's going on. And so if I am sharing anything and if I'm teaching anything, what I'm sharing is my vulnerability, is my experience, is for you to witness somebody going through this. And so I don't know where I'm headed. But there are two things. The first one is this crossroads, this confluence. Is it between us? Are we here gathered together, mixing our various beliefs and becoming one of sorts, gaining a new understanding? That's what I found when I looked up the meaning of confluence in philosophy, because I then looked up the meaning of divergence in philosophy. And divergence is when the roads part, where the roads part. And I very much feel strongly that this collective is experiencing this choice of whether we're going to merge our waters, our ideas around, our ideas of where our wisdom is born of, and everyone has sort of a pillar of how they approach new truths. And as we stay open to learning new truths, I've also come here very open. I learned this concept of beginner's mind, that you've got to go in as if you know nothing. Otherwise, you cannot gain any new knowledge. And I believe that this has really helped me along my journey. I'm wondering whether we're here to merge our waters, if some of us are diverging, where to? Because my understanding of this space and what I learned yesterday, because that was a lot of also new information. It was like information that's existed for me, but it became like real information for me yesterday. And that is around, and who knows what the goal is in terms of like our ascension and our expansion. It's unclear what the goal is. I know I want to manifest things into my life. I'm already doing that in terms of the product of me that I've been working on myself. I've transformed, I'd love to hear if you felt these transformations as a start. But what I found yesterday is that the heart and mind coherence needs to be happening. It needs to be happening, and my assumption is that it is happening, and my feeling is that it is happening. However, there's a point at which these roads perhaps are diverging for some of us, and I would love to gain an understanding as to where the other road leads. And I wonder to myself whether you have these questions as well. As I've interacted with personal readings, there have been many existential questions coming up. Existential questions around our agency, very much around our agency and the influence we have over our lives. If you see me today, this is the most nervous I've ever been for a recording. And it is because I just realized something. I usually take a moment to speak to my spirit guides. I think today I felt like they've been around me all day. And I pulled a card earlier to ask, what are we here to do? What are we here to do? These words you're giving me, because they gave me more words, said, what are we here to do? And the card they gave me was the moon. They gave me the moon. Thank you, first time. They gave me the moon, which is to say, we're not going to tell you, yes, you're meant to do this. No, we're not going to tell you. It's hidden. It's hidden. I've also felt this energy of feeling challenged. And I've been struggling to figure out whether this challenge is it my own projection? Or am I being challenged in terms of what I've shared? You know, as a channel, I have to exercise complete trust as I'm sharing. In order to open that channel, I have to allow everything in. Somebody mentioned today something around why they clicked on my video today. They've come across the word pyramid a number of times, an apartment building here, a medical insurance company there, and both kind of, the word pyramid was not significant. They kind of like not, I don't know how she described it, but like not brand front facing sort of company names. And I feel like that with pyramid energy because I still don't know who my spirit guides are. And I don't want to obsess about who they are, what they are, but I realize that it could be very much, I mean, my personal ones where I do my own stuff is one thing, but the ones I work with here on pyramid energy could very well be pyramid energy, all of yours and mine, and gathered in one place to do this work. I very much suspect that. And today in particular, thank you, Sarah. Thank you. I just want to, my apologies. I just want to catch up a little bit on, I saw a question here. The points of confluence contain gems for creativity. I believe they do. And I am at is this confluence or divergence? I feel like these two words are conflicting. That's my question here today. And I'm even scared to look up the significance of the next word they gave me, but I'm going to do it with you because we're here. And I feel like they have not revealed. When I was in the shower, it was as if we had this conversation where they were not revealing the full conversation. The more I committed to this live, the more they gave me, but they were not giving me all of it, as if they knew I'd chicken out if I knew. So here we go. Checkmate is the next word I heard. I'm typing on my laptop as I speak to you. A position in which a player's king is directly attacked by an opponent's piece or pawn and has no possible move to escape the check. The attacking player thus wins the game. Put into checkmate. Checkmate is a chess move that makes it impossible for your opponent to win. A checkmate can also be any kind of clear victory. In chess, a checkmate is a move that leaves your opponent with no more options. There is no move that won't result in you getting their king and therefore ending their game. This is tough for me, but I'm going to tell you what I'm feeling here. I want to see if anyone said anything about checkmate. I feel like we are coming together to learn from each other, confluence, and then going out as individuals, divergence, to share this new knowledge through our own unique expression. For me, Checkmate represents, I thought I'd find something new, and I really had not thought this through properly, fully. I know it's part of chess and pretty much the end of the game. But checkmate for me is, well, we have now given you all of that information. We have now told you that this road you're on to expand your consciousness, to expand your horizons, and to find peace, and some of you to manifest. This requires heart-mind coherence. A lot of solar plexus stuff was coming up for me. A lot of solar plexus transformation was coming up for me as it's coming up now. That's why I just wanted to add that. I saw a yellow butterfly in the garden. And so now this inability to show up is actually around a fear of really looking at some of the, so I'm not speaking to everyone here. I'm speaking to whoever this is resonating with. But it's this, you now have all the information, and I almost feel like there is no proceeding until we take care of some of these things. I'm not exempt from this. Checkmate came up for me yesterday and stood out also. I feel like this is a spiritual confrontation. I'm just being honest. I feel like it's a spiritual checkmate are the words usually uttered to declare that they have beat the opponent. If you cannot reflect back up to God, you won't know where you're going. So you see this speaks to me this resonates a lot. And the reason is I have had this tension around talking about God. And that's what I meant by, am I projecting my own challenges around the topic of God? But I do feel like I am met with some sense of, and God is we do not have to use these 3 letters. We do not have to use this word. Even if you look into God consciousness, it goes into unity consciousness. There are various ways of explaining this ultimate being that we all form a part of. But not really grappling with what it means that there is a God. I believe this is a challenge, because it's like you go up the staircase and you go up the staircase and you go up the staircase and you reach that point where the rest of the staircase behind you is starting to disappear, and it's time to step up to the next point, but you're basically being served all the information of what you still need to deal with. You've been proven to that a lot of the things you want to do, you can do them. And so there's this solar plexus grappling and like, where is the issue? A part of me has considered doing a one really long extended course in a video of reading cards. I did this with a friend yesterday, where he brought an issue to me and I asked him if he's drawn his own cards on it, because there's no use in my saying to him, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. 1, over-reliant on me. 2, he has been learning how to read cards and he can read cards. We can all read cards. But perhaps I felt like I need to expand maybe on like how I actually approach the cards and how I expand the container of the cards, especially now, given that my card journey is sort of coming to an end. And I believe it's coming to an end because of this exact issue. It's brought me here. And I don't know what's happening with other card readers. I honestly don't. And I believe perhaps this is the divergence. Perhaps this is my own, at least my own. Perhaps. As we move different with others in the next chess game, different timeline. We are made in the image of God. We reflect that when we create. We do. Do you have any thoughts on extending our energy, like reaching out to each other and creating a psychic quantum grid? I've downloaded some information on this grid, and I feel like these psychic conversations are always happening. Today is an example of my bringing this conversation to you, given the things that I've been feeling and the topics that have been brought up in these keywords. And perhaps this is my effort. It's very difficult in this format, and it has come up on the Facebook community page. Tao, is that how you pronounce your name, Tao? Or is it Tao? Tao Georgie. I believe we reach out to each other already on a big scale. The fact that a lot of us receive such similar downloads means something for sure. It means something. And I think perhaps also what's happening here is they're wanting us to engage differently. And I feel like this is going to require collaboration. It is a collaboration. This is somewhat of an invitation to consider the fact that we do all have different languages. However, we're still able to meet in one place and share these similar thoughts, experiences, inquiries into ourselves, and feel this increased connection. I feel like we're at the point where we've confirmed, like that part of the game, I feel like has just, it sounds so dramatic, but I feel like that part of the game, I don't want to end this, I don't want to like put finality to it, but I feel like it's kind of like, yes, we're connected, at least for the people here. Yes, we're connected. Yes, we've been sharing all these similar thoughts. We've got down to the word. I never knew this beginning pyramid energy that this would happen. It's required a lot of integration on my end. And so I can feel when I'm at a point where I'm like, where to from here? And I've learned this trust game, this trusting in the container and trusting spirit. And this is where spirit has led me. What I'm getting with Checkmate is there's nowhere to go. There's no more moves you can make to save yourself. Something about how we are going to break free when we feel we've run out of options. And so here, I do not believe we are running out of options and that we have run out of options. I believe that I'm speaking to a lot of people who have a lot that they want to do. A lot of you are doing it. But then in the same way, and I'm not exempt from this. So as I speak to you, I'm speaking about myself as well. Whether you are wanting to advance what you are doing, or whether you are wanting to, and again, it could be you, this could be you, whether you're wanting to advance it, elevate it, or start it. This energy of fear and doubt and questioning, and actually, I'll say it's lack of trust. It's trust that has questions. So these questions around trust are what need to be unpacked. And that's how I feel that's where it wraps around back to God. And I'm so careful of, this is the thing, this religious trauma, I'm so careful of not sounding like a preacher, because this is not actually the point. The point is not to tell someone what to do. I very much approached it like sharing why it works for me. And it doesn't mean it's smooth sailing for me. Please do not think. It doesn't mean it's smooth sailing for me, but it allows me to advance in steps as I have these conversations. And the kind of conversation, what it sounds like is, well, for example, what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of, sometimes it's a huge void and a gap, like as in you don't even know what you're afraid of. I'm afraid I won't know what to do. I'm afraid it won't all come together. And like yesterday I said, it's a matter of throwing out the recording if it doesn't work. And I've actually never had to do that. My type of art may be very different to all of your types of art. And so this is not just, and again, I'm a piece of art. You are a piece of art. You're workshopping yourself and you're wanting to transform yourself and become the person that you know you can become in many ways. We don't stop this process. this process doesn't stop. Invitation to telepathy. I'm going to sit with this. It's the second person who's brought it up that I've read here. This telepathic connection. You know, it's interesting because, and I've brought this up maybe one too many times, but as you, when you open up to someone else telepathically, you know, when I create a container, I have this container, and my spirit guides are who protect me. And perhaps this is what needs to be workshopped. But also with that, within God, it's God that even allows it all to happen, that makes it possible. Let me put it that way. And so my spirit guides also look to God, you know, and they have a mandate with me, is how I feel about it. And also their own personal mandates. I don't know if personal is the right word. But to open up to someone else telepathically, I wonder, as a group, what would that mean? What would that look like? If any of you have information, please feel free to email me. If you, not all of this stuff is available online. And when you look online, again, it might be fundamentally, the basis of it might be flawed in terms of how you see things personally. And I think it's important. I once spoke to someone, and I don't know if they're in this room or not, early on, maybe around August, and he proposed, amongst other things, this group that he's created of people, where they look out for people, let's say, for example, like me, either ask them to join this group. And, you know, I'm careful about groups. That's another reason why I'm like, I'm not sure. And I'm still cautious. And his idea was that he knows that they are able to influence, help other people, even without their consent. So now this brought me back to my fundamentals around interfering with people when they haven't asked for my help. On a one-to-one level, that's one thing if I'm praying for a loved one. And again, that's me asking for God's attention on the matter. That's not me asking for a specific outcome. That's interference. And so I very much, to a level, I feel like, you know, if we are dealing with someone who believes in, let's say, interference, or I am, perhaps this is an opportunity and a space to have my mind changed in terms of, no, it's not interference. It's, you know, I think this is a collaborative process. I believe it's a collaborative process. And I believe that to actually even embark on a journey like this, or some kind of telepathic experiment would have required for us to actually agree to come together like this. I could not have come up with this on my own. I could not have. And I'm not shocked if I consider it. I'm thinking about it now. It's coming in. I'm not shocked when I look at the state of the world right now. I'm not surprised. I'm also very cautious of anything that might come across as a cult. Whatever it is, and I'm gonna sit with it after today. Whatever it is would need a high level of freedom. Freedom of thought would have to remain. Freedom of expression for everyone involved. And I think maybe maybe the format would be more something around something that allows us to deliver all of our information to one place. I mean, one of the things I've been curious about is what you do with your insights. What are you doing with your insights? Because this is where I bring all my insights. It's all these things. This place is where I bring my insights. The Divine River, a guide to finding harmony in a divided world. Thank you, Ben. And I believe it's becoming increasingly important for these truths to be shared around I don't know whether it's the benefits of for me, the first thing that comes to mind is a lot of these things that are happening in the world. It's as if we're singing from different hymn sheets about life, and here I am trying to be super careful about how I bring up the topic of God. Yet you have people around the world who talk so freely about the topic of God, yet there you have it. I feel like it's becoming increasingly important. I always thought that my work was very much related to helping others find their way through their work to get it out there. I have one voice and I have access to all of you. But then in my mind, let's say something I say activates all of you, and then you go out and activate many others. And this doesn't always have to happen on a platform like this. It doesn't always have to happen on a platform like this. Perhaps this is what's happening. Perhaps this is what's happening is that I see two steps in my vision. I see two steps. I see one step where we're all coming together and we kind of have a better idea of what perhaps the common goal is. Perhaps what the common goal is, because essentially what this confluence, what I read about it, about the wisdom being of the rivers being of equal widths, says that I am not more wise than you, for example. And so my understanding, I've got a voice, I've got a platform that helps, has come together with all of you. Imagine this is like already such a bigger circle. And if we can share, I suppose, our vision, our wishes, and our goal, the essence of what actually sits at the heart of what we want, if it is for the world, and to focus our own awareness on that. And that comes back to how we're showing up, our behavior, whether we're aligning our sense of peace. This idea of manifesting, we actually together, I don't just have to manifest physical things I want in my life. We can together apply the lessons we've learned around how to find peace, work on this, continue to work on this heart-mind coherence, make a wish for what we want to see changing in the world. Our vibrations are, guys, I can't explain, like this, we carry a lot, we carry a large influence. And if we are focused on the same goal, I actually do not doubt that we can create some changes. And I think, a friend of mine invited me the other day to pray for everything that's happening in the world. And I didn't respond to him because I just felt like this is all I can do. I can't do beyond. I can ask God to watch, and I believe God is watching. I already believe that. But I do believe we can create a change. And this change doesn't have to be about all the chaos in the world. This change can be this peace we're nurturing in order to allow our hearts automatically to go out there and fix this physical stuff that we can't, or to feed even more peace into the world. Which brings me back to the question of, it's not possible to change the whole world to light. There's this ideal that keeps coming to me, and I don't know if it's possible. We can analyze what we know, but on the edge, checkmate now, We feel our way in the dark, and we are the light, and expand and co-create together with each step, letting go and being the light. You see, this is how I see the journey, that there is no destination. There's no destination, and that's why I felt like we've reached a certain threshold, and I see the word threshold coming up. We've reached a certain threshold. Perhaps it manifests as a stagnancy, and then I'm going to just leave that here because I feel like I've covered that topic enough. A stagnancy that perhaps asks the question, which part of the solar plexus is unhealed here? Because I feel like the solar plexus is what we actually use to take that step forward and advance. And solar plexus being your confidence, your trust, that's where fear sits, that's where doubt sits. It's in your stomach, in your gut. And it's that thing that stops you just before you're about to jump. I mean, it was chasing me today to this live. But I must be honest, I have been craving this this connection where I'm not necessarily channeling, but we get to talk. I have been. The thresholds go nowhere. It is we who, in our readiness and experience, keep coming back, because the soul knows only one way to fulfill itself, and that is to take in what is true. This share is so nourishing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ariel. I feel the same way. Thank you, Monica. That was... You brought this question back to me. And I suppose at this point, it's confirmed. Sorry, I hit my mic. It's confirmed that it's recurring. It's confirmed that it's recurring, and perhaps I should not worry about anyone else and which point they're at in their journey. Perhaps I shouldn't concern myself with that. Perhaps. Because I feel like perhaps the format of how I share certain things could do with a tweak to be able to work and massage through this doubt energy, this trust energy. Is there anyone in the room who has like these incredible amounts of trust that they can share? Because I find I have a deep trust in God. However, it is something I consistently have to come back to. As far as my safety in my physical life and the things that I've over time that have been threatened in my physical life, people that have threatened me, financial things, physical things, I'm a champion at leaving those things to God. I'm just going to tell you, I'm a champion. I'm going to tell you what scares me the most. What scares me the most is moving into this unknown, the steps I have to take, to move forward. How I deal with the other fears is I do nothing. If I don't know what to do, I do nothing. And I wait, and I go back to what I enjoy doing, which is pyramid energy and the other stuff that I have going on. I go back to the present moment, and I let that stuff be. I almost feel like to interfere with it is to interfere with God's plans and what God wants to do, because if I was meant to know what to do, I'd have that answer. And so I remove my mind from the thing. And what I've observed over time is it works. It works, and it works out better than what I could have planned. And if I had interfered, it works better. And this is important because, I mean, partly why I share myself is I've gone through major life changes in order to accommodate my spiritual journey. And with that, you come across towers and all that. At some point, I was like, it's enough with the towers. It's enough with the towers. Let me step back. And I've experienced I can't tell you the last tower I've experienced. I can't remember at the top of my mind the last one I've experienced since approaching things this way. However, when it comes to the spiritual journey and expanding and me having to step out of myself to draw from my solar plexus, clean it out, and move forward. I mean, my stomach has not been happy this past week. I don't know about all of you, but my stomach has been so unsettled. And all these solar surges, that's what they're bringing forward for us. They want us to, the sun is coming in with these surges to keep activating, These things are all linked. And so it's getting past myself that I feel is, I mean, I feel like I did a lot here just by showing up. Continue to advocate, love, honor God. Thank you, Kara. Even quantum physics is onto the reality. What might people do after getting proof? This is valid. And another thing that I'm experiencing as I go out there is, when I say go out there, I mean looking up, researching, watching videos and learning more about this stuff. I learn as the container reveals to me. I don't really go out looking for extra, which is how this relationship with the Bible is very much in reverse for me. I feel like it moves backwards. I go when something comes up and I want to refer to it. But I wonder about all of these ideas that are constantly being shared in theory. Everything is so comfortably shared in theory. And here we all are. It feels like the top of the staircase, or at least the one threshold. We can theorize about all of this stuff till the cows come home. What is humanity going to do with this information? I see us all applying it into our own lives. We're actually living it. So we're not studying textbooks only and reading, and we're living it. What of the scientists that have got the information and could be close to the proof? What of it? I ask myself, what is humanity going to do with all this information if not to implement it in their lives and live by it? It's a mystery to me. Telepathy has been so wild in my experience in the past 2 weeks. I feel the same way. And I'll share a personal experience. There was a point in terms of my, I don't know if telepathy, does it have to be both ways? I mean, my understanding is that if I'm speaking to you, you're speaking to me. But I don't know, but there's often been this thing where, you're having telepathic conversations with someone and you start to gaslight yourself as though it could be one way. And more I'm finding new people I'm meeting, people I'm interacting with are more willing to admit that there are things that they are feeling and thinking and certain conversations. However, navigating it is tricky. And I found that the only way that I'm able to, in my human world, the only way I'm able to navigate it is to raise the topic. Similar to what I've done today. I can't come here today and tell you I've read your thoughts and I know what you're thinking, and how can we live life this way? Because then we actually don't know everything. I do not know all your thoughts. I am obliged to engage with you if I want to engage you. I'm obliged to, because what would be the point if you have full telepathy? Then what? Stop talking, stop exchanging, stop learning, stop growing. I do believe it's a fun exercise. I have had 1, 2, or 3 people who have tried telepathy with me, and it's as if I'm sleeping in the quantum realm. I'll be honest. I have a lot of activity here in my waking life. I bring down a lot of information. However, as I travel, I know I travel, but I have no memory of my travels. And so then in those cases, I've always had to say, no, buddy, sorry, I didn't go flying last night. This is my experience. You're surrounded by the subject of telepathy, which you've never had interest in. Container has come up daily this week, Sarah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Jill X Capate, I'm not sure. Please excuse me. That is the only truth. All the mysticism either leads to God or sin. Hence why you don't know what's to come. But I want you to know you can have a goal in your heart so you're not misled. I believe this resonates with me. This resonates with me. And I believe that sometimes it's hard to admit, but I believe it's possible that as you expand, you encounter this God consciousness. And I say this because, this was me yesterday, and I don't know if there's anything more beyond that. I'm not expecting more than that, but I'm open because, again, what if what I'm referring to as God consciousness is not, and there's something bigger? Who knows? So I stay open. Those are my words for 2025. Stay open. But now, once you've reached these understandings and you've got all of this wisdom, you've got, besides all the books, you actually know it now. It flows easily from your mouth, and you constantly also applying it in your daily life and living that way. Is this not a crossroads when, the idea of sin, I'm going to save that because I don't have the "you've been bad" idea of sin. It is that I believe that this is perhaps where the splitting of the roads can take place, where someone is faced with the decision where they no longer want to, or they no longer have an appetite for more information. And I'm inclined to say I respect that, because I had to admit to myself today that this journey is not easy. It's deeply gratifying, but I have gone through these times where I'm like, is there a ticket to get off now? Like, could I get off? Could I get off the train? I ask myself that because it's fear. It's fear. And very quickly I come back to my peace, and I come back to my wish, because this goal in my heart is to expand to my full potential. And the chances are I will, my flesh days will come before that, But while I'm here, that is the work that I want to do, and that is the work that I want to share. And I don't believe this time will come where I feel like I know everything, and I feel like I've seen it all. I don't believe that, because again, perhaps that'll be the beginning of my demise and my death, because, according to my promise to myself and my life goals, I'd have to stay open to continue to learn and to continue to expand and to be stretched. The chat just jumped big time. It's God energy. It's not an intrusion, but it is a choice to walk his path. His kingdom come, his will be done. Thank you, Tracy. There are also these hymns that come up for me. So many hymns. Perhaps Confluence is us as one, realizing we are all one. And Divergence is embracing the uniqueness of each of our journeys, and Checkmate is winning once this is clear for all. What you're saying here, University of Lisle, what you're saying here resonates a lot, because as much as there's been all this confusion in this past week, also reflective of like the confusion in the world, there's been all this confusion, there has been this great sense of peace, as if it needed to be injected onto earth. And besides that, this is not peace on just a personal level. This is also peace in terms of the things that other people do, because I continue to deal with other people, and so we continue to be challenged, and the triggers are not so much. It's as if, and I'm not saying I don't get triggered, I mean another person's behavior, another person's limitations, I have so much more patience for them. it's like I can see them more. It's like I can see them more, and I can understand many of the reasons why they haven't quite turned around yet. And I think that's out of acknowledging my own personal journey and my work that I've put in. And I feel relieved having this perspective where I've removed the expectation of others to work on their spirit, their relationship with spirit, and their relationship with their personal development. I no longer hold other people to such a high standard. That's released for me in this last week, and it's brought me a lot of peace. It's brought me a lot of peace. Crossroads, this is Monica R. Crossroads and liminal spaces have been repeating messages for me. The choice for me has been between fear and love, and neither of those terms can be taken at face value. And we have to keep choosing love. And I believe that you're saying also what I was talking about earlier. It's a constant discussion and a constant coming back to peace and love. Jill X. Kapate, I held on to my marriage for it's a covenant. I made honor with God. He was proud of me. He came and spoke to me many nights. I have recordings going 3 years back. That's beautiful, Jill, that's beautiful. You know, you said, yeah, sorry, I'm going above. I'm not just talking just to say things. I was put out by my wife. I was out in the wild for 3 years. Heavy eats, cold alone. I grieved. I went full head on to face all emotions, and God came. God always comes. God always comes. Zoom meetings came up for me. By the way, I'm just going to pull a Rumi oracle card for us all when I close this. But Zoom meetings came up for me as a way of engaging. I would also love to hear that. I just want to finish that thought. I started reading again, but God always comes. That's why I believe it's such a privilege to trust in God, because it also means a lot of the time, because actually to know whether you trust God or not requires you to be tested. It's all good and well to say you trust in God, and only later, when you haven't really been tested into that place where you have nothing you can rely on but hoping that a God shows up along the way, releasing expectations of time, releasing expectations of outcome, all of that. And again, releasing everything anyone else has maybe said about God. It's a privilege to have had that struggle, because it takes you to a place that you would never have sought had you not had that struggle. That's the thing about God. And God always shows up, yet why does this trust, why is it still a challenge? When you have a goal in your heart and you've been moving towards this goal, and God has been meeting you each time, each step, you check in, yes, present, move on to the next step, yes, present, move on to the next step, and then you reach this thing, you reach this point where you're scared, and it's actually asking you, well, do you really trust God? Because some of the work that some of us want to do, most of us have, like, let's say, this purpose that we have, let's say this, if you want to pursue and advance in your purpose, it gets tougher because you're going to places no one's been to a lot of the time. Even if that's just how you feel, you're going to a place no one's been to. And if you haven't been there, then for all intents and purposes, we haven't been there. I could go and search on YouTube. Perhaps I'll find someone else who's like me, similar to me. And I maybe I could, but that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is I have to walk this tunnel. I have to walk it, and I'm being asked as well, what are you afraid of? Who don't you trust? What and why? On what basis? On what basis do you not trust God? Given everything you know about why you have encountered the struggles you have encountered, on what basis do you not trust in God? Is the conversation that comes up for me. Because you know then why struggle has happened. And so you know that, and I don't want to undermine anyone's struggle, because again, I could not trade mine for another person's. I think we could all agree on that. My doggy is very interested in this energy right now. Hello, doggy. I'm going to sit with this, and I'm going to, I don't know how these lives work, but I would very much like to schedule a Zoom. I have to sit with this to figure out the format, how it would work. I do want to cover this idea. Are there people in this chat that have been wanting to learn how to read tarot cards or read tarot cards? And I know a lot of you are advanced in tarot, so I'm not fully referring to you, but is there anyone who's been wanting to learn about tarot cards and expanding this container where you feel like you are reading cards, you're looking at them, but you're not getting as much information as you can get from a reader on YouTube? Moxie, the question I have is, when you read your own tarot, do you write your tarot, or do you say it out loud, or do you just look at your cards? Okay. I read intuitively for myself and want to learn more so I may read for others. Monica R. Thank you. Tarot and alchemy expands forever. So yeah, of course I would like to. So exactly, you've touched on exactly the reason. The reason this came up today as well. The tarot and expanding this container for me is, I was reading for a friend. I asked him to put down his cards and I read what he pulled. So he sent me a picture of it. And I was surprised that he didn't send it with his interpretation. But then I thought, okay, let me interpret it for him. And so I did. So this is collaborative. It's not just me doing a reading for you. So you've pulled your cards and you kind of can see. And the way I see it, let's say, even if it's 5 people or 6 people in a room as a start for this tarot thing, is you bring your cards and you lay them out. And then we start to discuss. And I have a particular layout that I use, but we start to discuss, because I have this understanding that there's a thread that runs through the Celtic cross. It's like it's a thread, it's a story, and it sends you through. And if you can follow the energy and take it all the way up to the outcome, that's alchemy, because that's the energy has been transmuted. The energy has been transmuted. If you followed and you've brought all of these things to your awareness and you can work through it, and if someone's reading for you, if you can absorb it all and interact with the information and the truth, and even the stuff you're grappling with understanding, if you can grasp it, if you can grasp it and understand it, and if you can, let's say, call it buy into the initial card and then the surrounding factors, and buy into the understanding, by the time it spits you out on the other side of the outcome, that energy is transmuted. You've literally zoomed from where you were to where you headed. You no longer have to go back and work through and quiz over all this stuff. And that's why I think it's really important to gain a better understanding of reading for yourself. That's my reason. Because also when I read for you, and I do this, I'll do my own reading and then I'll go jump onto YouTube and I see other people's readings and they confirm me, and it's also entertaining, and they confirm me. However, the most important journey is the one with me and my own cards. That is the fastest integration. I'll tell you, that is the quickest integration, is if you can read your cards and gradually bridge that narrow down that gap, because the intuition's already there. So it's narrowing down that gap between what you're seeing and your block to seeing what's there. So you see one thing, but there's obviously some kind of a block to accepting the information as it's there. And I believe it's partly reading with a desired outcome. I do believe it's because of reading with a desired outcome. But eventually, if you have an issue you're grappling with, and maybe you can just try that. If you have an issue that you're grappling with, and I do recommend a particular thread, not my own particular, but to repeat on the same type of spread. Write that issue down and go to the reading and read for yourself, and then wait a while, a few days or whatever, and go back to it. Probably be a different combination of cards, but revisit it. You'll see that it's trying to tell you the same thing. And then you can ask yourself, why is it telling me that? If you don't see that thing that way, why is it telling me that? Because that was my journey for a long time with cards, was denying what they were saying. Greetings, spiritually lovely, beautiful, divine energies. Essence connection known by pyramid energy. Let's not do that yet, love. Chaos needs to be done. Which first time? Please let me know what you mean by let's not do that yet. Which that? I feel like we've talked about a number of things. I'd like to expand deeper. I'm going to leave this live up for a while. I do want to close this out. I'm going to leave this live up for a while. If you are interested in this tarot idea, I can arrange it. And then in the comments, you can just let me know there. And also ideas on a format for this telepathy. But this is something I need to sit with for the reasons I shared earlier. I believe perhaps that's what was being said here around the chaos needs to be done. Because I really believe that if we are to open ourselves up to other people to this level, this is something I just need to sit with. We don't want to disturb peace for anyone. An oracle awakening. Interesting. Let's pull a card. They're telling me to use the spirit guides card, not Rumi oracle. Sorry. I haven't used these in a while. I practice with regular playing cards. A little trickier. I was thinking today about seeking a shaman or my Native American ancestors, like Luke Skywalker spending time with Yoda in the forest. A friend of mine she started reading with playing cards. I tried once. And I tried once. I wasn't sure which suits to apply to which element, and I ask myself whether the chaos is going to pass anytime soon, or whether we need to get used to living in peace amongst the chaos. I do ask myself. I want to take the chance to thank you so much for what you do, Pyramid. You are such an inspiration, and I love your presence here and vulnerability. Thank you so much, Tao. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you. I believe I don't say it enough. I believe that I show it in my feeling. Walking into Pyramid Energy, I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know how much I was going to grow here. And that's to say that had I not come here, I wouldn't have grown. And so I have everyone here at Pyramid Energy really to thank. And I say so many things about the tarot community and the spiritual community. And I just also want to say that community has contributed unknowingly big time to my own journey. That understanding of the connection, the confirmations, even the times where I was completely lost, without a plan, without an understanding of what I'm going through. I have learned, my YouTube and the generous readers on YouTube have been my teachers. And you at Pyramid Energy have been my teachers. You really have. You are welcome. Thank you. Please do the tarot video. I started with itching. I ching. I said itching. I ching and feel so out of my element with cards. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Soski Krota. Thank you so much. It's tough. Today I even asked, I got a card, intuition, inner child. It's yellow, first of all. It's a yellow card. It speaks to intuition, but it's got this little child that's wanting to come out of, I don't know if you can see it clearly, that's wanting to come out of this area here. He's using his hands to cradle this, almost the sacral chakra area, as if it's all brewing. But in order for the inner child to be free, this creativity needs to be able to be released through this, through this solar plexus area and out. It needs a way out, because you can see it's blending here, and here the inner child is clearly free. Let's read what the guidebook says. Card number 42. Intuition, inner child, instinct, invention, trust, impulses. The door to your inner child is opening, and he or she walks through, bringing you the gift of intuition. You may not be entirely comfortable with this newfound source of insight, and may not know exactly what to do with it. However, don't toss it aside or try to analyze it to death. Instead, accept this gift and play with it. Apply your intuition to non-threatening situations and learn how it works. Don't try to control it, because you can't. It's exciting and powerful, and is to be respected and followed, not tamed. Trust your inner child's willingness to share its magic so that you may benefit. The message for you is, trust me. It's interesting. That was a lovely card. I feel like it does speak to trusting our intuition as we guide ourselves into peace and through our own counsel. And while we are entertained by others and confirmed by others, to not rely on their counsel, and really get used to this idea of coming to our own answers and trusting that God will access us with the information that we need. And more than that, we don't know what the future holds. This topic about telepathy, I feel like I'm closing this out. And this has come up for me before, but right now it's very clear. This topic around telepathy, I've always thought to myself, what if we have a huge shutdown in YouTube and all of these platforms, and what happens? Do we stop communicating? I don't believe we do. I believe that should that ever happen, and should that ever be a threat for any reason, we will have built ourselves and developed ourselves to a point where we will still be in communication. I very much trust that. Yes, Sands Motel. Wow, maybe all of us here today have been given the power of intuition and being told just to trust him. We all have this power. We all have intuition. It's the journey, it's the gap of trusting our intuition. It's that gap we need to bridge of trusting it. Of course we have our intuition. Our intuition is what sends messages even to our bodies when we are not following the path we're meant to follow. And so the mind might not be checked into the intuitive and the plan, but that's why we have to clean the mind and clear it of doubt and self-limiting beliefs, and also tell the mind to start listening to the heart and heal the heart so that the mind can trust the heart. This is what I see. This is how I see mind-heart coherence. And then you're living in alignment. To an ant on a leaf in a pond, a pebble falling into the water nearby could represent chaos. But to the fisherman in a boat, it goes unnoticed. Perspective often defines whether it's chaos or peace. Yes, it's perspective. It truly is. It truly is perspective. You've given me a lot of food for thought here, Sean. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I'm going to go back to this to be able to read it in full, because it's also very difficult to keep up with every single message and speak. But I'm glad I did this. Thank you, Pyramid. You are a blessing to all of us. The doors are opening for many, and you are helping them turn the locks. Thank you so much for that. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Can you imagine what it would feel like if I was posting all these videos and nobody was watching and nobody commented? And so this interaction, this engagement that I get on the channel is such a blessing to me. And it's allowed me to grow. The reason I say it's allowed me to grow is because the community that I come from, I'm grateful for them too, because that's the community that pushed me to even come here, because I wanted to do something and I couldn't do it with them, and I came here. But it's this growth that I've experienced here it's allowed me to grow because it's given me room to grow, and it's validated that my desire to grow is valid, if that makes sense. I feel like it gave me a yes to, grow for what, and this gave me a yes, if I'm wording that correctly. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to close this. It's interesting that you mentioned that, the removal of the platforms. I have been feeling like I'm being called to go into my local community and work with tangible materials. Me too. And something has already come up for me. Me too. I feel that very much. Goodbye, everybody. God bless. And sending you so much love.